Right. Well, I've asked them. I have a class of about 120 that I see every week, and fewer than 10 go home to a place with a TV set. Now, when they go home for the holidays, their parents have television sets, but when they go to their dorms or their apartments or their sorority houses, almost all of the TV viewing they're doing on their devices, and they're streaming. So very, very few of them have a television.
You can infer from that these streaming services are the future, right, Professor?
Yeah, I think they're not the future. They're the present. I mean, while it's true this was the first year that subscribers to streaming exceed worldwide subscriber to cable and satellite, I think the streaming thing is already here. Everybody keeps saying Disney changes everything. Everything has already changed. Disney is just confirming that it's going to continue to change.
You'd better have a streaming solution, Tuna, or you're going to be left in the dust.
That's right, Tyler. I think you can understand from the professor why the secular trends are favoring the migration from linear television to internet television. And that's why I think Disney Plus launching today is the most compelling entry yet, we think, into this space.
In terms of thinking about the different streaming services, though, Tuna, I mean, one criticism, if you can have one, of Disney at this point is that they have entered into an arms race in terms of content spend with the likes of Netflix and Apple. And whereas you have a player like a Comcast, which has an ad-supported model, how do you think about these models in the future? In the long run, could actually an ad-supported model be the ticket? Because part of it is actually paid for. You're actually making money off of part of that service.
So, Melissa, the way we think about it is that the streaming war is actually not one huge, battle. Mm-hmm. It's kind of playing out on multiple fronts, of which you've got the ad-supported, subscriber-based, and also across various genres, whether it's sports, news, and entertainment. And we are expecting to have multiple winners and losers within each of these buckets. So the way I would compartmentalize it is to think about, Disney playing in at least 3 of those crucial areas where I expect them to be among the survivors, just based on the advantage they have, whether it's content, name recognition, the brand's affinity, things of that nature. Netflix is a much more specialized, realm. Obviously, they've got a much bigger head start in this. And over the long term, I would be very surprised if within their category of subscriber-based on-demand entertainment, I would also argue that they will survive the war.
Professor, let me turn to you and then maybe get Tuna to jump in on this. If Disney is so successful in streaming, as most people we talk to seem to think it will be, can you imagine a time, I sound like a movie trailer, in a world where, can you imagine a world where Disney might decide to shed some of its more traditional networks, like ABC, maybe even the ownership of ESPN, because the costs embedded in those for rights for athletics or to buy the right to air television programs is so high that it's more economical just to deliver streaming services and work off the library and rent shows rather than buy them?
Well, Disney is currently bundling Hulu, ESPN Plus, and the Disney Channel. You can get that for $12.99 or Disney for $6.99. So I think they're seeing themselves as this empire of content, all of which they're going to be able to mobilize in all kinds of different ways. We should remember, however, that most of the research projects that 5 years from now, in 2025, Netflix will still be #1 in streaming with about twice as many subscribers as Disney. That's a projection, not necessarily the truth. And that Amazon Prime will still be #2 and that Disney will come in at #3. That sounds about right, given both the formidable catalog that's almost 100 years old in the case of Disney, but the head start and the added services, head start with Netflix and added services with Amazon Prime.
So, Tyler, the core of your question is really the balancing act between, media companies trying to protect the core, revenue stream and not cannibalize that by the shift to streaming. I think really that's where investors are going to be, watching while we have this cord-cutting phenomenon and continued attrition. How does the companies respond in terms of balancing a business like streaming with huge, potential, but in the meantime, a lot of pain and losses? How do you kind of, be sure and assure investors that that inflection point is going to, make up for the decline in traditional business?
Is this? Are we going to look back? We've been saying this for years. the death of cable.
Yeah.
Is the death of cable really here this time?
I think it's what I might call death by 1,000 cuts. It's not going to happen, immediately. It's certainly a kind of a sustained, steady phenomenon.
And Melissa's question leads right into mine. You have Comcast, our parent company, which is a big cable provider. It is also a big broadband provider, as a strong buy at 54.
That's
Why?
right. Tyler, I think
If cable's dying, why is Comcast
So
surviving?
well positioned.
Well, listen, Comcast, obviously have pulled up, what are arguably one of the most compelling acquisitions in ages with the NBCU integration, which, granted, we were among the skeptics, but I think their timing was very fortuitous, right? You think about, the move from, to streaming from linear. I think what NBCU has given Comcast the optionality to be able to, partake in that, while at the same time the core
And
business.
they're going to have their own streaming platform as well.
That's
called
right.
Peacock, NBC Peacock.
That's right. And while the broadband business continues to be the bread and butter, so the move to streaming, really favors this, the core broadband business.
And it's cheaper than Disney, even though it has very similar parts.
That's right. That's right.
That's sort of a head scratcher to me.
It is. It is. I think what's fascinating to me is the confluence of business models, and every company really looking to their core advantage. If Comcast is rolling out the Peacock for free, essentially, that's because the broadband business is going to be a major beneficiary of this broader trend.